5 months ago, Lena was sitting in the kitchen with her 20-year-old daughter Maya and 18-year-old son Lucas, venting about her husband Arthur. Maya, clearly exasperated, retorted, "Mom, why do you keep whining about Dad? It sounds like you're acting like a brat. He gives you everything, but it's never enough. What more could you possibly want?" Lena, feeling justified, shot back, "I want some excitement." "He's too easygoing and never stands up for himself," Lucas cut in, shivering at the thought. "I remember when I pushed Dad too far before," he said. Lena persisted, "I need a strategy. I'll provoke him until he finally loses his temper. After he calms down, I'll make up with him and show him I care. But I need your help." Maya gave her mother a doubtful look. "I don't like this plan at all. If you really cared about Dad, you wouldn't put him through this." "What exactly do you need from us?" Lucas was adamant. "No way. I pushed Dad too far once, and it hurt both of us. It took a year to rebuild his trust. Mom, this isn't going to work. Dad doesn't give warnings, he just snaps. Please don't do this." Lena ignored his concerns and continued outlining her plan. She turned to Maya and asked, "What's your take?" "I won't push him too far, but I need him to stand up to me," Maya replied. "I'm uncomfortable with this. Like Lucas, I'm worried it'll drive a wedge between us. I'll help to a point, but if things go south, I'll back Dad." Lena then asked Lucas, "And you?" He responded firmly, "No way. If I see Dad suffering, I'll tell him everything." Lena tried to convince him, but he was resolute. The following morning, Lena yelled, "Arthur, where's my coffee?" "I asked for it." Arthur, startled, brought her coffee. "What took you so long?" Lena snapped. "Freshly brewed coffee takes time," Arthur replied, his voice trailing off. Lena's barrage continued throughout their vacation. Lucas tried to discuss it with his father, who calmly said it was between him and Lena and he'd handle it. Driving south on the A2 highway, the atmosphere was tense. Lena's behavior that morning had nearly driven Arthur to his breaking point. He focused on the road, trying to keep his anger in check, planning to confront Lena when they arrived. She sensed his frustration and kept quiet. After a 3-hour drive, they set up camp in silence. They had lunch without speaking, and Arthur went for a walk to cool off. When he returned 3 hours later, he was more composed. Finding Lena socializing with other campers, he asked, "Darling, should we go out for dinner?" Lena shot back, "Can't you see I'm enjoying myself?" "Just back off." The other campers exchanged smirks, and Arthur went pale when he saw Lena's hand resting on another man's thigh. He muttered, "As you wish," and walked away. Determined, Arthur withdrew a significant amount of money, opened a new bank account, and contacted his boss to explain the situation, arranging for his salary to be redirected. His boss granted him an extended vacation to deal with the circumstances. At 1 a.m., Lena stumbled in, drunk and smelling of another man, and slurred, "Arthur, come here." "I want you." Arthur, through clenched teeth, replied, "Not a chance. Who knows what's been going on tonight?" "Screw you." Lena, oblivious to his fury, collapsed fully clothed onto the bed and passed out. The next morning, Lena woke up feeling nauseous with a pounding headache. She called out for Arthur but received no answer. Crawling outside, she found Arthur enjoying breakfast in the sunshine. He smirked and said, Well, not feeling too great, are you?" Lena tried to speak, but Arthur cut her off. "Be quiet and listen. Here are the car papers, the key, and the caravan papers." Lena weakly asked, "Why?" Arthur nearly shouted, "Just shut up and listen. The bank cards and credit cards are yours." "I'm leaving." Lena, barely holding it together, asked, "When will you be back?" "We need to talk," Arthur replied coldly. "The real question is whether I'm coming back. And the answer is no. This is goodbye." He grabbed his backpack. In a panic, Lena cried, "No, this wasn't supposed to happen." She felt queasy again. Arthur showed no sympathy and waited. Finally, Lena whispered, "I love you. I just wanted you to be more assertive." Arthur looked at her incredulously. "You got what you wanted." "I'm furious. Check the sheets when I'm gone. They're stained just like our wedding night. You smelled like a brothel last night. I wanted to discuss our marriage, but your behavior made my decision easy. Get tested for STDs." His final words hit Lena hard. "Goodbye," he said, and walked out. Overwhelmed, Lena broke down and collapsed onto the bed. Arthur walked to the village, reflecting. Leaving was the easy part. Now what? By evening, he found a boarding house north of Hallsberg. Alone in his room, he collapsed, realizing his marriage was over. He could endure Lena's demands, but not her betrayal. Meanwhile, Lena, feeling slightly better but still unwell, stepped in dried vomit and, holding her breath, gathered her toiletries for a shower. As the hot water ran, she tried to piece together the previous night. Her memories were fragmented, but she knew her marriage was in serious trouble. Arthur had always been forgiving, but her recent affair had crossed a line. She cried in the shower. Arthur sat in his room, contemplating his next steps. He needed to end his marriage and find a new place to live. He called his boss, who promised to assist in finding accommodation. Meanwhile, he looked for an apartment. Lena, despite her shower, still felt filthy and returned to the caravan. The smell inside was overwhelming. She began cleaning, not wanting to face her children. After a lot of effort, she sat outside, resisting the urge for coffee and cookies. Memories of the previous day surged back, leaving her stunned. As she tried to gather her thoughts, her phone rang. "Maya, why haven't you answered your phone? I've been trying to get in touch with Dad, but he's nowhere to be found." "Something's seriously wrong. We had a major argument, and he's really pushed things too far this time. I'm completely in the dark about his whereabouts. He threw my car keys, important documents, and bank cards at me before leaving with just a backpack. What on earth did you say to him? You know how he gets when he's furious. Mom, you're in big trouble." "I get it, and honestly, I don't think he's ever coming back. There are things he won't ever forgive. I'm just holding out hope for a smooth divorce." "Divorce? What happened to make reconciliation impossible?" Lena composed herself and recounted everything, the insults from Arthur and her own harsh responses. Maya was stunned. "Mom, you've completely messed this up by pushing all the wrong buttons. I'll keep trying to get through to Dad, but I'm staying out of it. You're on your own. I warned you from the start, you need to break this news to Lucas yourself. He's going to be furious, and I'm not playing messenger. You've got 2 weeks to fix this and come home. I'm not coming to help. Goodbye." Maya ended the call and immediately dialed her father. The line was busy, which made her breathe a sigh of relief. At least Dad wasn't hiding under a rock. After 10 minutes, she tried calling again. "Hello, May. How's it going?" Arthur's voice sounded strained. "Dad, you left Mom. What does this mean for us?" "Yes, I left her." "Did she tell you everything?" "Probably not. Your mother abandoned me 6 months ago. Just yesterday, she told me to get lost in front of her new friends. I decided it was over, and now we're not a family anymore. My job found me a new apartment and a good lawyer. I'm planning to rent a truck and move out. I'll send you my new address soon." Maya shivered at her father's frustration. "I understand, Dad. One last thing, who's going to tell Lucas?" Arthur paused. "When you talk to him, just say we've broken up. Don't go into the details. It'll break him. I told your mom she should handle explaining things to both of you." Arthur's voice was filled with frustration. He swore he'd never put up with this again. He packed his backpack and headed for the bus station. The next day, Arthur arrived at his now empty house. He had a meeting with CEO Charles Dirksen and his lawyer in an hour. After a restless night packing essentials and family keepsakes, he was ready. Assuming Lena wouldn't be around that morning, he went to his office. Upon arrival, he was directed to the CEO's office where Charles awaited him. "Arthur, have a seat. Coffee's coming. Did you get any sleep?" Charles asked with concern. Arthur shook his head. Charles continued, "This is Miss Nina Caldwell. She'll be handling your divorce. You still want to go through with it, right?" Arthur, trembling, replied, "Yes, as soon as possible. But I need some rest first." Charles nodded. "I just wanted you to meet her. You can reach out to her later. We have 2 houses available, one in the city and one in the suburbs, close to public transport. Which one do you prefer?" Arthur chose the suburban house. Charles sighed in relief. "Great choice. Here are the keys and the address. The rent is $750, deducted from your paycheck. Harold and a truck are ready to help you move." "Thanks, Charles." "You're welcome. But don't come back until you've spoken to Miss Caldwell. If you need anything, you know where to find me." Arthur left and met Harold. They drove to the new apartment, a 3rd-floor unit in a 5-story building with no elevator. It had a living room, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a half-bath, and a large balcony overlooking a park. It was sparsely furnished. "I don't need much from the old place." "Let's get going," Arthur said. 2 hours later, the truck left his old house with essentials, including bedding and personal items. He left a note for Lena, informing her she'd be hearing from his lawyer soon. Lena, seething with anger, was left at the campsite with the car and caravan. She tried to find a bus stop but realized she was stranded without a driver's license. Missing the last bus, she had to wait until morning. Unable to locate her drinking buddies, she learned from the camp director they had left. Maya and Lucas ignored her calls. Lena returned to the caravan, feeling defeated. The next morning, she walked to catch the 7 a.m. bus, but the campground manager told her it was for locals only. The next bus was an hour later. She thanked him and continued on foot. When Lena finally reached their street, she hoped Arthur might have reconsidered. Entering the house, she called out, "Arthur," but was met with silence. The antique clock was gone, and so were Arthur's belongings. She sank into a chair, realizing he had truly left for good. She had hoped for a confrontation and reconciliation but found only emptiness. Arthur had often said to Maya and Lucas, "What's worse, someone being mad at you or acting like you don't exist? If they're mad, they still care. But if they ignore you, that's something else." Arthur had proven this point when he caught Lucas buying odd items for a party. Instead of punishing him, Arthur said, "If you want to ruin your life, that's your choice. I'm out." Lena realized Arthur was now doing the same to her, cutting her off rather than showing anger, and she knew it was her fault. Lena walked to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and then shut it quickly. No, alcohol had played a role in this mess. She found an envelope from Arthur and tore it open. The note read, "Lena, I've endured enough humiliation. This marriage is over. I've hired a lawyer. You should get one too." Lena screamed in frustration. He didn't even bother to sign it. "I won't let this go," she said, hurling the teapot and cup, shattering them both. Almost a year later, Arthur had settled into a steady routine: sleep, work, eat, repeat. One day, he received the finalized divorce papers in the mail. The process had been tough. Lena had tried every way to reach him, but Arthur had ignored her. Financially, things were simpler since their incomes and savings were similar, and the house, now mortgage-free, was worth over $500,000. Arthur's frugal habits and long work hours had earned him significant bonuses, prompting him to seek investment opportunities. He decided he needed a house with a garden, space for his motorcycle, a library, a top-notch stereo system, a large kitchen, and 3 bedrooms. He searched online and through work contacts until he found an estate agent he liked. To celebrate, he booked a ticket to see Brahms' German Requiem, which felt fitting. After the concert, he went to a nearby pub to continue enjoying the music. He was savoring a Dutch Ginevra when someone called out, "Arthur? Arthur Malone? Is that really you?" A tall woman was staring at him. "I'm sorry, miss. Do I know you?" he asked politely. She laughed. "I'm Sophia Myers. We went to school together. I had a crush on you but was too shy to approach you." Arthur tried to remember but couldn't. He smiled. "I should remember someone as lovely as you, but I'm drawing a blank." Sophia tilted her head, offering a warm smile. "Let me buy you a drink to make up for the confusion. Can I get your number, so we can meet up again another time?" Just then, a man appeared behind her, his voice low and menacing. "Hey, this is our date. You're going to have a great time with me, a real man." Arthur quickly scribbled his number on a slip of paper and handed it to Sophia. The man snatched it from her hand, his face twisted with anger. "You're my girl, and I don't want you sneaking around with other guys." Sophia shot back with irritation, "You're clearly drunk. I'm not your girlfriend, and this was our one and only date. I'm calling an Uber because you're in no shape to drive, and I'm not going anywhere with you." The man, enraged, raised his hand to strike Sophia. Arthur moved swiftly, delivering a sharp knee to the man's stomach. The man gasped and stumbled back. "Listen up," Arthur said firmly, "either you behave or I'll make sure you don't forget this. Pay for the drinks and leave. I'll arrange for her ride home." Reluctantly, the man paid for the drinks and slunk off, grumbling under his breath. Sophia watched in awe as Arthur booked an Uber for her. "You're just like I remembered from school," she said. "Always stepping in to help others, even when you were quiet. How did you manage that guy? He was a lot bigger than you." Arthur shrugged modestly. "I've been training in Krav Maga since I was a kid. It's helped me control my anger and build confidence." An Uber pulled up, and Arthur paid the driver before turning to Sophia. "Good night," he said. The following day, Sophia called Arthur from an unfamiliar number. "Hello, Arthur. It's Sophia. Are you free tomorrow?" "I'm going house hunting with an agent," Arthur responded. Sophia's voice dropped with disappointment. "Oh, I see. Well, I'd be happy to help. Women often have a good eye for these things. Could you use an extra set of eyes?" Arthur quickly added, "That would be great. How about we discuss it over dinner? I can cook, or you can choose a place." Sophia chuckled. "You cook?" "I'm intrigued. When I cook, the results are always satisfying, no complaints, no leftovers," Arthur said with a grin. Sophia replied, "I thought you were always dining out." "I've been pretty much a hermit lately. Last night was the first time I went out in a long time," Arthur explained. Sophia asked, "Why's that?" Arthur hesitated before revealing, "I got my final divorce papers last night. I needed to mark it with something significant, like a requiem." Sophia nodded sympathetically. "That's tough. I'm willing to give your cooking a try. When should I come over?" Arthur gave her his address, and she agreed to come by at 6. At 6:05 p.m., Sophia stood on Arthur's doorstep, nervously ringing the bell. When Arthur opened the door, he beamed. "You look fantastic," he said sincerely. Sophia, dressed elegantly with just the right amount of makeup, blushed. "Thank you. Can I come in?" "Absolutely," Arthur said, stepping aside. "Dinner will be ready in about half an hour. We're starting with melon and parma ham, and I'm making lasagna for the main course. What would you like to drink? Sophia enjoyed the evening, though she had a bit too much wine. After dessert, she felt a bit tipsy. Arthur noticed and said gently, "I think it's time I took you home. You've had a bit too much to drink." Sophia, now feeling more relaxed, replied, "Arthur, I'd prefer to stay with you." Realizing what she'd said, she flushed. Arthur smiled warmly. "I'd love that, Sophia, but I have a rule. I don't spend the night with someone who's had too much to drink. Let's see how things look tomorrow." Half an hour later, they were outside Sophia's house. She looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "I know you might not find me attractive, but could I get a kiss?" Arthur was taken aback. He lifted her chin gently and said, "Sophie, you're beautiful. I'd love to be intimate with you, but not when you're tipsy. I don't want you to regret it later. I care about you and want this to be special. Do you understand?" Sophia nodded, touched. "Disappointed? You're the first man who hasn't rushed things. I like you too, and I'm willing to wait. See you tomorrow. I'll make breakfast." The next morning, Arthur knocked on Sophia's door, his nerves showing. When she opened it, he said, "You look stunning. How can I focus on house hunting with you looking like that?" Sophia giggled and embraced him. "I've fallen for you too. This is just the beginning." After breakfast, Sophia changed into something more practical, and they met the real estate agent. The agent showed them 4 houses, 1 in the city, 2 in the suburbs, and 1 in a nearby village. Arthur immediately dismissed the city house, preferring a garden. As they toured the homes, he also rolled out one of the suburban houses. Noticing the agent's excessive attention toward Sophia, Arthur checked the house's distance from the airport and discovered it was overpriced. Confronting the agent, he said, "Are you trying to overcharge me while hitting on my girlfriend?" The agent looked shocked. "What are you talking about?" Arthur replied, "You're trying to scam me out of an extra 100,000 and flirt with my girlfriend. We're done here." He turned to Sophia. "Let's go." Sophia, surprised by Arthur's reaction, asked why. Arthur explained, "The agent didn't respect you and was trying to cheat me. I don't trust him. We'll handle getting the keys to the last house ourselves." At the agency, they picked up the keys for the last house. Sophia asked, "Am I your girlfriend?" Arthur smiled and said, "Not officially, but I've been feeling a bit jealous and would really like you to be my girlfriend. What do you say?" Sophia, taken aback but serious, responded, "You're not joking, right? I'm recovering from a rough marriage and can't handle any more drama." Arthur assured her, "I'm absolutely serious." Sophia smiled. "I liked you back in high school, and you've only reinforced my feelings. Yes, I'd love to be your girlfriend." The house in Vermont seemed ideal but had its issues. Arthur arranged for a specialist to inspect its structure and a contractor to estimate the cost of repairs. Despite needing work, it was within his budget. Frustrated with the previous agent, Arthur made an offer $50,000 below the asking price. "Now we wait," he told Sophia. "It's getting late. How about dinner?" 3 weeks later, after a tough negotiation, Arthur purchased the house. Both he and the seller were satisfied, but the real estate agency was not. The seller received $10,000 more than expected, while Arthur paid almost $40,000 less than the listed price, cutting into the agency's commission. To celebrate, Arthur's company offered him a new 3-year contract. During dinner, Sophia asked, "Your company deals with stocks, right?" "Yes," Arthur replied. "Why?" Sophia asked. "When I got divorced, my ex-husband tried to hide his assets, but his twin exposed him. My ex is still after those stocks. I need to transfer them," Sophia explained. Arthur promised to look into it the next morning. Later, He asked Sophia if she was ready to meet Maya and Lucas. Sophia was enthusiastic about the dinner introduction and agreed to it. 2 weeks later, they met at a Turkish restaurant. Maya and Lucas took to Sophia warmly, but the evening took a surprising turn when Lena showed up uninvited. Arthur looked baffled. "What's she doing here? How did she find us?" Maya suggested she might have been following us. As Sophia excused herself to the bathroom, Arthur took the opportunity to explain to his children that Sophia was his first relationship since his divorce. When Sophia returned, her mood had shifted dramatically. "How could you treat that poor woman like that?" she exclaimed, her voice filled with outrage. Without waiting for an explanation, she stormed out. Lena, with a smug expression, tried to speak with Arthur. He dismissed her angrily and hurried after Sophia. Maya, seeing the disruption, turned to Lena. "You're dead to us," she said firmly. Lucas nodded in agreement. "We're done with you. Leave." The restaurant owner, having witnessed the commotion, approached Lena and told her to leave, threatening to call a bouncer if she didn't comply. Seething, Lena found herself outside, fuming over Arthur's retreat. She decided she wouldn't pursue him that evening. The next morning, Arthur's attempts to contact Sophia were met with silence. His letter was returned unopened. Feeling defeated, Arthur immersed himself in work, sleep, and solitary meals, avoiding social interactions except with his kids and colleagues. 2 weeks after the restaurant incident, Arthur was summoned to CEO Charles Dirkson's office, accompanied by lawyer Nina Hervier. Charles's usual warmth had vanished as he inquired about the no fraternization clause in Arthur's contract. Arthur, caught off guard, confirmed his knowledge of the clause. Nina accused him of having inappropriate contact with Evelyn Geddard. "I knew Sophia before she became a client," Arthur explained. Nina declared that this constituted grounds for dismissal and demanded Arthur's laptop and phone. Arthur, growing increasingly frustrated, responded calmly, "These devices are my personal property. I consider this termination wrongful." Charles, taken aback, insisted on the devices due to confidential information. Arthur argued, "I'm the account manager, and I'm responsible for that information." The lawyer then confirmed Arthur's immediate termination and demanded a list of his accounts. Arthur retorted, "You'll be hearing from my lawyer soon." Months later, Arthur won his case in court. The company was ordered to pay him the full amount of his contract, including bonuses. Many clients transferred their business to him. The judge dismissed the company's claims of account theft. Leaving the courthouse, Arthur called Maya and Lucas to celebrate. Back at his dream house, now equipped with a library, spacious kitchen, garage, guest rooms, gym, and pool, Arthur was struggling with his mental well-being despite his physical fitness. He had bought a vintage BMW motorcycle but lacked the motivation to restore it. He kept up a facade for his clients and children but decided to avoid new relationships due to his lost trust. Maya and Lucas happened to meet at the same restaurant where Sophia had left Arthur. Concerned about their father's depression, they discussed ways to support him. During their conversation, they saw Sophia enter with a man, and soon after, Lena appeared at their table. Maya glared at her mother. "What are you doing here?" Lena replied, "I need to talk to you both. This has gone on long enough. I am your mother." Lucas stood up, facing her resolutely. "After what you did to Dad, you're no longer our mother. You nearly destroyed him, and we won't tolerate it. You're not welcome here. We suspect you had a hand in his firing, so back off." Ignoring her mother's presence, Maya called Arthur. "Dad, we're coming over. Is there anything you'd like us to bring?" Arthur, puzzled, asked, "Why?" Maya explained, "This restaurant is infested. We'll be there soon." As they left, a man approached them. "Hi, I'm Ben Harris, Sophia's brother. I believe my sister might have been misled about your father." Can we talk privately? Maya, taken aback, handed him her business card. Please call me soon. My father is struggling, and we can't get him to relax. As you saw, our mother isn't helping. Ben nodded and returned to Sophia. What's going on? Sophia asked. Ben replied, that man wants nothing to do with you. But I think you still have feelings for him. Take a chance. Sophia hesitated but agreed. Okay, I'll call. The next morning, at 8:30 a.m., Maya's phone rang. Maya Vandergoes speaking. Good morning, Maya. It's Ben. We met yesterday, said the voice on the other end. Good morning. It's not too early. My father is sinking into depression. You mentioned Sophia still has feelings for him? Maya asked. Yes, Ben confirmed. When we meet, Sophia will explain. She's been miserable since leaving the restaurant. I've made reservations at the same place for us to discuss this. Can you come to my place around 5? I'll also call my brother. You must really care about your sister to go through all this, Maya remarked. I do, Ben replied. She always looked after me. Now it's my turn to help her. Maya agreed. I'll bring drinks, wine and beer. Sophia prefers wine, and I like beer. Perfect. See you at 5, Ben said. At 5 p.m., Maya, Lucas, and Ben's wife, Emma, gathered around the kitchen table. Emma poured wine while Ben served roasted chicken with vegetables and fresh bread. Maya started the conversation. Should we talk while we eat or wait? Ben replied, let's start now. Sophia, can you tell us what our mom told you about Dad? Sophia, blushing, hesitated. She described your father in detail, which made me panic. In the bathroom, she claimed Arthur had been verbally and mentally abusive and had cheated on her. I believed her and ran. Maya and Lucas exchanged glances. Lucas said, the story is almost true except for one detail. It wasn't our father who did this to our mother. Lucas continued, the truth is, it was the other way around. Plus, our mother orchestrated Dad's firing on false charges. They even had a picture of you and Dad from the day she deceived you. Sophia's face drained of color. Is Arthur really who he seems to be? I left a good man because I believed your mother's lies. She began to sob. Maya gently comforted her. Maybe there's still a way to make things right between you two. Then she asked, what should we do? Emma interjected, your mother will always be a troublemaker. You need to handle her first. I have a suggestion, but it might not be what you want to hear. Lucas urged, tell us. We'll consider almost anything. Emma continued, you need to allow your mother back into your lives, but with conditions. She must leave your father alone and see a psychiatrist to address her issues. Maya and Lucas exchanged glances and nodded. We can agree to that, Maya said. But what about Dad? At that moment, Arthur was swimming to clear his mind. Despite his excellent physical shape, his past relationships had left him wary of new ones. That day, a female client had demanded a date or threatened to take her business elsewhere. Arthur had turned her down, suggesting she contact his former company instead. After a long swim, he came inside, only to hear the doorbell. Checking the camera, he saw Lena standing outside. He opened the door with a scowl. Lena, whatever you want, the answer is no. Now leave. He slammed the door and activated his security system, ready to request a restraining order if necessary. Lena, feeling buoyed by her health certificate after battling syphilis, had dressed to impress but was taken aback by Arthur's rejection. Just then, Arthur's phone rang. What is it? Arthur asked, his voice tense. It's me, Dad. I'm sorry. I thought it was Mom. What did she want? I didn't give her a chance to explain. I told her to leave, Arthur replied. So, she's not trying to reconcile? His daughter asked. Arthur's voice softened. After everything she put me through, months of hurt and cheating, I've lost all love for her. But remember, she's still your mother. Don't do anything you might regret, like cutting her off entirely. I've tried calling her for days, but she hasn't responded. I even blocked her number, but I still dream about her and wake up longing for her, Arthur admitted. Dad? Yes? When will you come out of your shell? I don't know. I'm not ready for a psychiatrist yet, and women seem to think I'm easy prey. Can we come over tomorrow for dinner? Okay, 6 o'clock. Use your keys so I can swim and still have time to cook. See you tomorrow. Love you. Love you too, Dad. Maya was thrilled and immediately called Sophia. Eva, be at my place tomorrow at 3:30. We need to be at Dad's between 4 and 5. I convinced him that Lucas and I are coming for dinner. Start thinking about what to wear. Sophia was equally excited. Thanks, Maya. See you later, she replied, already planning her outfit. Meanwhile, Lena, who had been trying unsuccessfully to contact her children through letters and calls, was desperate. She called Maya once more. Mom, why are you calling? You know we don't want to talk to you. I needed to hear your voice. I miss you both. What do I need to do to see you again? Maya's tone was cold. Dad doesn't need your help. He's doing fine. Lucas and I decided on 2 things you need to do before we'll even consider talking to you. Are you listening? Yes, anything. First, leave Dad alone. We know you scared off his girlfriend and got him fired. He left his old job with a lot of clients, so just stay away. Okay, I promise. Second, see a psychiatrist for your obsession with Dad. You're never getting him back. I don't know if I can. Fine, I'll go with you. It's part of the deal. And Lucas? We've already agreed on this. Let us know when your first appointment is scheduled and stay away from Dad. Lena, though not thrilled about the conditions, was hopeful she might find a way around them eventually. The next day, Maya and Sophia arrived at Arthur's house. Maya whispered, "You look stunning." Sophia, visibly nervous, replied, "I'm so anxious I'm feeling sick." Surprise him by the pool. He won't run away there, Maya suggested. Sophia took a deep breath and approached the pool. Seeing Arthur swim, she was struck by how fit he had become. Mustering her courage, she entered the pool, and the current pushed her toward Arthur. Instinctively, he grabbed her, and they floated to the other side. Arthur pressed the emergency button, stopping the current. He saw Sophia's distressed face. "Sophia, what are you doing?" he asked, surprised. "Please don't chase me away." "Let me explain," she pleaded. Arthur, still stunned, said, "I won't kick you out, but you need to explain how you got here." Maya, appearing at the gym door, added, "Blame me, Dad. There's coffee and tea in the kitchen." As they moved to the kitchen, Arthur explained to Maya. She jumped in the pool. Sophia added, "He wouldn't look up, so I had to make a scene, but I won't do that again." They all sat at the table. Maya spoke softly, "Dad, we're not trying to meddle. We just saw how unhappy you are and had to act. That's how we met Ben and Sophia." Arthur frowned. "Ben?" Sophia quickly clarified, "My younger brother." Arthur sighed. "I'll try to understand. Just promise not to get upset and let me finish the story." Maya nodded. "We understand, Dad. We trust you. That's why Sophia can explain everything." Sophia took a deep breath, looked at Maya, and began, "Should I start?" "The sooner this is over, the better," Maya said. Arthur nodded. "Go ahead." Sophia started. When I met you, Arthur, I was on my first date after a failed marriage. My ex was abusive, starting with verbal mistreatment and escalating to physical violence. I panicked in the pool because he once tried to drown me. The local police wouldn't help unless I had visible bruises. Eventually, I ended up in the hospital, and he's now in jail. When I met you, you were different. At school, you were independent, avoiding the popular crowd and helping others. Despite knowing you for a short time, I fell in love. When you asked me to be your girlfriend, I was thrilled. A month later, when you introduced me to Maya and Lucas at a restaurant, and your ex-wife showed up, calling me your fifth girlfriend, I panicked and fled. I ignored your calls because I was overwhelmed. My brother Ben convinced me it was all lies, and I tried reaching out, but my calls didn't get through. Arthur nodded, recalling how he had blocked her number. I understand. But how did you muster the courage to come here today? Ben, Lucas, and I worked together on this, Dad, Maya answered before Sophia could. And Sophia, why did you jump into the pool? Maya asked. Sophia's heart fluttered at the pet name Arthur used. I wanted your attention so badly. I was terrified but pushed through my fear. I'm deeply sorry for running away and not hearing your side of the story. Can you forgive me? Arthur whispered, Sophia, I told Maya I still dream about you. Do you know the song Avalanche by Leonard Cohen? You became my avalanche. We both need therapy to work this out. Sophia's eyes widened. Does that mean you want me back? No, Arthur said gently, I never told you to leave. You made that decision on your own. Sophia's face went white, but Arthur quickly added, but I want to understand and see where we can go from here. Should I ask if you want me to come back? Sophia's voice quivered with uncertainty. Yes, Arthur answered softly. I made a mistake letting you go. Can I have you stay tonight? Before Sophia could respond, Maya chimed in. Papa, there's something I need to tell you about Sophia. Arthur gave a wry smile. All right, Cupid daughter. What's on your mind? Maya explained, Lucas and I have decided to let Mom back into our lives, but only if she meets two conditions. First, she must stay away from you. Second, she needs to see a psychologist. I'll be there with her. Arthur nodded thoughtfully. That sounds fair. If it helps ease future tensions, I'll do my best to be civil when I see her. But that doesn't mean I'll invite her to dinners or family gatherings. You and Lucas will be able to have family meals without choosing sides because of me. Your mother's actions are out of my control. Maya sighed in relief. Oh, Daddy, you're so understanding. Thank you. She gave him a tender kiss on the cheek. I'll leave you two now. Sophia, are you coming? Sophia looked at Arthur, still unsure. Do I have to? Arthur smiled gently. Not at all. I have a spare bedroom. But wherever you choose to sleep, know that I'll be right here. He chuckled, but if you're staying, you'll find me in bed. Sophia blushed and gave a nervous smile. They went to bed, and after a while, Arthur broke the silence. Will you marry me? Sophia sat up with wide eyes. What did you just say? I asked if you'd marry me, Arthur repeated, his voice steady. Sophia paused, then said, Do you really want to marry me? You don't have to. I'm here for you with or without a ring. I promise to stick by you through everything. Arthur replied, That's enough for me. I promise to do the same. For me, it's about commitment, not the formality of marriage. Consider us married in spirit. Now, do you want to move in, or should I? Sophia laughed softly. I'll get my things. I don't have much left after the divorce. Arthur took her hand gently. Dear Sophie, he can't hurt you anymore. The next morning, Arthur excitedly called Maya and Lucas with the good news. After breakfast, he and Sophia went to collect her belongings. A year later, Arthur watched Sophia swim confidently, having overcome her fear of water. He hummed happily as he walked back to his office and noticed an unstamped letter in the mail. Recognizing the handwriting, he sighed heavily. Sophia approached him. "Arthur, please look at me." He looked up, and Sophia continued, "Lena sent that letter. We talked when we met at Lucas's place. Her therapist helped her see her mistakes, and she's trying to make amends. Please read it. It might help you find closure." Arthur grumbled, "I don't want a relationship with her. I just want to be left alone." Sophia took the letter and set it in front of him. "You need to read it. If you don't, she'll keep bothering you. It's better to face it now." With a reluctant sigh, Arthur opened the envelope. The letter read, "Dear Arthur, I still think of you fondly, even though I know you don't feel the same. I was stunned to learn from Maya and Lucas that you've moved on and no longer care about me. I need to apologize. When you left, you said you were so angry you couldn't find the words. Now, I'm at a loss for words to express my regret. I destroyed our marriage and tried to ruin your lives. Maya and Lucas made me go to counseling, and it was a harsh experience. The counselor told me I was jealous, selfish, and entitled. I deeply hurt you. I'm not asking for forgiveness because I don't deserve it. The children said you'll be civil to me, which might mean ignoring me. I've dated other men and realized how much I threw away. For the sake of our children, please let me be a part of your lives. I won't intrude or pursue you, but if we meet, will you talk to me? I long to hear your voice." With remorse and love, Lena Arthur looked at Sophia, whose eyes were full of hope. "I'll think about it. Don't expect an answer soon. I don't like people prying into my feelings." Sophia opened her mouth to say something, but stopped when she saw Arthur's emotionless face and cold eyes. She nodded, understanding that he needed time. Arthur went to his garage to work on his 1949 BMW R24 motorcycle, trying to focus on disassembling the carburetor but finding it hard to concentrate. By dinner time, Arthur remained silent, and Sophia began to worry. "Beloved," she asked gently, "how can I help? Do you want to talk about it?" Arthur replied tersely, "Can you just forget about that letter? I wish I'd never read it. I feel like I'm being blackmailed by my own kids." Sophia was taken aback by his harsh tone. "That's not true. No one's forcing you." Arthur stood up and began pacing. "Really? You and my children, and even my ex-wife, are all involved in this. You encouraged me to read it. How is that not manipulation? I promised to consider it, but right now I feel like a fool. Maybe I should get away to clear my head." Sophia turned pale, clearly distressed. "You're really going away?" Arthur nodded. "Tomorrow, I'm taking the caravan to Limbard. I'll book a spot at a campsite." The next morning, Arthur drove south, muttering to himself. "Just when I think I'm free of her, she pulls another stunt." And of course, the only campsite available is where it all began. Meanwhile, Sophia tried calling Maya but couldn't get through. Finally, she reached Lucas. "Hi, Lucas. Is everything okay? I usually talk to Maya." "Sophia, what's the matter?" Lucas asked. Arthur read Lena's letter yesterday. It didn't go well. He felt blackmailed and only said, "See you later this morning." He left for Limbard with the caravan. "I don't know what to do." "Oh, damn it," Lucas muttered. "This is a mess. I'll get in touch with Maya and let Mom know. For now, we can only wait and hope Dad calms down. Try to stay calm. He'll come back." Despite Lucas's attempts to reassure her, Sophia was fraught with anxiety. That afternoon, Arthur arrived at the campground and set up his site. As he wandered around, he spotted a familiar face, the real estate agent who had been involved with his ex-wife's syphilis infection. Arthur's blood boiled with anger, but the man was oblivious to Arthur's presence and moved on. Back at his caravan, Arthur seethed, trying to figure out his next steps. The following morning, he visited the campground manager. "Do you know who these people are?" Arthur asked, referring to the agent and his companions. The manager shook his head. "I'm aware they're trouble, but without evidence, I can't do anything. I've got a CCTV camera on them, but if I provoke them," the manager's expression turned mischievous. As Javier from Faulty Towers would say, "I know nothing." Arthur chuckled. "You're from Barcelona, right? We get each other." With a nod of understanding, Arthur left the office, devising a plan. He greeted his neighbors with a casual, "Good morning." "Who are you?" the agent, now introduced as Max, grumbled. "What do you want?" "Just thought I'd offer you some coffee," Arthur said innocently. "You look like you could use it." "I'm alone here and figured we could chat." Max eyed him warily. "Why?" Arthur continued, "You seem to have had a rough night, and I'm just trying to be friendly." After a moment's hesitation, Max replied, "All right, call me Max. Bring something strong, it's ladies' night." "My buddy's coming too." "Sure," Arthur said. "What time?" 3:00, Max answered. Arthur picked up brandy, whiskey, and Dutch Geneva, diluting most of the Geneva with water. At 3, he arrived with his phone recording. He found Max with his buddy and a young woman, Hannah. "Hi, I'm Hannah," Arthur said, leaning in. "She's a bit young, isn't she?" Max sneered. "She's 19. Who cares? You'd be surprised how easy it is to get a woman in bed. We even had one who told her husband to leave so she could have fun with us. She ended up giving us a nasty disease." Arthur was stunned. "What if she doesn't want to?" Max's smirk widened. "That's an easy one. But I prefer when they're willing." Arthur noticed Max subtly spiking Hannah's drinks, starting with wine and moving to cocktails. By dinner, Hannah was heavily intoxicated but still resisted the men's advances. Max and his friend, also drunk, grew more aggressive. "Time to bring out the helpers," Max announced. Arthur ensured the CCTV was focused and his phone was recording. He said, "I don't like this. I'm leaving." Max grinned maliciously. "What are you going to do about it?" Arthur muttered, "Which one of you needs syphilis treatment?" Max's friend turned a sickly shade of purple. "How do you know about that?" he shouted. "My ex-wife treated you," Arthur said coldly. "Now I see how you act, and I'm putting an end to it." Max lunged at him with a knife. Arthur staggered back and collapsed into a chair. "Dad?" Sophia's voice trembled over the phone. "What happened?" "He's in the hospital," Lucas said. "He was stabbed, and the police want to arrest him for assault." "What? Is he all right?" Sophia's voice cracked with worry. "He needs surgery. Maya and I are coming to pick you up. We'll see him together." Sophia packed a bag, and the car ride was somber. Lucas drove quickly but carefully, while Sophia sobbed quietly. Maya finally spoke, "I wish we hadn't given him that letter." Lucas sighed. "Dad's not one to fight unless he has to. He must have been defending himself. I almost feel sorry for the other guy." 2 hours later, they arrived at the hospital and were greeted by Officer Collins. "Good evening, I'm Officer Collins," he introduced himself. "Who are you?" After the introductions, Collins said, "Mr. Malone is no longer a suspect. The CCTV and phone records show it was self-defense. He also saved a woman from being assaulted. He's quite skilled, those two will regret crossing him." "Two?" Sophia asked. "Yes, 2 attackers," Collins confirmed. "It was self-defense, and he protected the woman." He'll be all right, but you should speak with the doctor. They found the right room after several inquiries. A nurse informed them that Arthur was in surgery. His condition was serious, but he was expected to survive despite significant blood loss. They could wait in the waiting room or rent a guest room across the street. The trio crossed the street to wait. Beep, beep, beep echoed through the sterile environment. Arthur, barely conscious, could hear a deep voice. "Mr. Malone, if you can hear me, raise your right hand." Arthur managed to lift his hand slightly. "Good," the voice continued. "I'm Dr. Martinez. You've had a close call, but you'll be fine. I'll free you from these restraints and moisten your mouth. Then you'll see some worried faces. Stay calm." Dr. Martinez released Arthur from the restraints and left the room. Sophia, Maya, and Lucas entered, and Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "What happened?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I shouldn't have given you that letter." Arthur gave a faint smile. "It cost me, but now I have a clear answer to Lena's letter." With that, he closed his eyes, exhausted and relieved. "I'm so tired," Arthur mumbled, drifting off to sleep. After a brief visit, Sophia and the kids went to see Dr. Turner. "The knife cut a major vein," Dr. Turner explained. "We got to him in time. We reinforced the wound and stitched him up. He'll be sore and numb but should be able to go home next week. He'll need to wait 3 months before practicing martial arts again." Lucas looked puzzled. "How do you know my father practices Krav Maga?" Dr. Turner smirked slightly. "It explains a lot. Officially, I can't say much, but let's just say the other guys won't be walking the same way again. One will need a cane for life, and the other is currently eating through a straw." A week later, Arthur was home, slouched in an armchair, holding Lena's letter. He spoke quietly. "When I first read this letter and went camping, I thought about letting Lena back into my life." 3 pairs of eyes locked onto him. The men at the campground were the same ones Lena was involved with almost 4 years ago. They trusted me and, not knowing who I was, admitted she gave them the disease, not the other way around. She got drunk after their fun, not before. She cheated on me before I left her. She is absolutely not coming back into my life. I will, however, treat her like a stranger because I don't want our children to choose between parents. It's my responsibility to tell her that, so please, don't interfere. Promise me." 2 weeks later, Dr. Turner cleared Arthur to start exercising again, under the supervision of a physical therapist for a few weeks. 6 weeks after the altercation, Arthur still struggled with how to address his ex-wife, so he decided to be direct. A week later, Arthur was at the same restaurant where Lena had tried to sabotage his relationship with Sophia. Now deeply in love with Sophia, having worked through their insecurities together, Arthur watched Lena enter with a counselor. He stood up and waved as both women approached. "Lena, you've brought company for a private chat?" Arthur said, his tone colder than expected. Lena's face fell. This wasn't the warm reception she had hoped for. "This is my counselor," she said, trying to keep her composure. "She's here to support me." "Oh, still trying to manipulate me?" Arthur responded, turning to the counselor. "Maybe I should have brought mine too. After what she did to me." He looked back at Lena. "I promised you dinner. Your support is welcome, but let's eat first." Lena, clearly nervous, reluctantly agreed. Arthur insisted on food before conversation. She noticed he ate sparingly and barely touched the wine, though he appeared calm. After dessert, Arthur finally spoke. "So, Lena, what exactly do you want from me?" Lena nearly choked on her ice cream. The counselor jumped up. "Sir, you're being rude. Lena is trying to resolve difficulties between you two. This approach won't help." "Difficulties?" Arthur's eyes were cold. You have no idea the pain she's caused me. Lena, you know I was in the hospital. Do you know why? Lena, taken aback by Arthur's demeanor, replied softly, yes, I know you were in the hospital, but I don't know the details. The kids haven't told me anything. Arthur asked, do you want to know why? Both women nodded. After reading your letter, Arthur began, I needed to do some serious soul-searching because my loved ones urged me to do what you begged. I went camping and ended up at the same place where your troubles began. There, I met the men you had your fun with. I earned their trust and recorded their confessions. When I objected, a fight broke out. One of them had a knife. He paused, taking a sip of his drink, and met Lena's gaze. I have part of the recording on my phone. I'll share it. The counselor interjected, I don't think that's necessary. Arthur's response was immediate. It is necessary. You're not my counselor, and the reason for my decision must be clear. He played the recording. Lena's face paled as the truth of her actions was exposed. Tears streamed down her face as the recording ended. Arthur remained emotionless. After listening to their confession, Arthur said, I conclude that you were unfaithful to me with at least one man months before this incident. You humiliated me, broke our vows, and further insulted me at the campground. This is why I'm resolute in my decision. A heavy silence hung over the table. Arthur's gaze was stern. To sum it up, I'm in a much better place now. So kindly, stay out of my life. He stood up, paid the bill, and left the restaurant. He returned to Sophia, the woman he truly loved.